So how can you benefit most by reading the Bible? The Bible, of course, is filled with information of how you can have a better life, how you're supposed to live, how you can love people more, how you can have more joy, what's going to happen to you in the future. The Bible has so much information about how we can live a good life. So let's get right into it. The first one is by prayer. The Bible is a spiritual book. And if you just try to read it like it's a textbook, like most people do, then you will indeed fall short of understanding what the Bible's trying to tell you. It is a spiritual book. And because it's a spiritual book, it's going to speak to your spirit. That is how you're going to understand the Bible. That's how you're going to get the most out of it. So the first thing you need to do, recognizing that it's a spiritual book, is pray. By praying, asking God to give you insight, asking God to keep you flexible. Because a lot of times when we come to the Word, we come to the Word looking for an answer that we want. And more often than not, the Word will actually give us an answer that we don't want to hear. It's a hard word. It's a difficult word. It means that we need to change something in our life. So we want to pray that we will really understand what we're reading so that we know those areas in our life that we really need to change. We need to be prayerful before we read the Bible, when we're reading the Bible, and after we read the Bible. So the first tip to get the most benefit out of the Word is prayer. The next tip is we need to be consistent. I know so many people who read the Bible, but they'll read it once a month, and they'll read this big chunk at a time, or they won't read it at all. What we really need to do, if we want to get the most out of the Word, is we need to be consistent in our reading. Now, that doesn't mean you have to read 15 chapters a day. It doesn't mean you have to go through the Bible in a year. What it does mean is that every day you need to take time to sit down with the Word. That's going to change as you grow. When you're starting this journey, 15 minutes is probably a lot of time to go and read the Bible. So start with 15 minutes, start with 10 minutes. As time will go on, you can increase that to 20 minutes, to 30 minutes, to 60 minutes. Think about how much time you spend in a movie. Think about how much time you spend watching the game or watching YouTube videos or watching something. It's not difficult. And reading the Bible is only difficult because if we're doing it right, it's making a change in our life. It's not entertainment, it's changing us. And so that's what makes being consistent difficult because we don't like that. We don't want that. But as we grow in our relationship with God and our walk, we do want it. We do want to know more about what God's telling us. We do want to know more about how we can change to be pleasing to Him. And that's when it's no different than reading a novel. It's no different than watching a movie. We want to do it, and we can spend a lot of time doing it. But it starts by being consistent. It starts by every day, or at least 5 days a week, taking some time during our day to read the Word. You need to schedule that. Figure out what time of day is best for you to read your Word. Figure out how much time you want to take to read the Word. By being consistent, the Word will get into you and it will enable you to grow. The next thing, and this one gets a little harder, is we need to really understand what was the writer trying to say to the people he was writing to. In other words, we can't assume that is written specifically for you and me. It was written specifically for a people, for a church, for a person. And so we need to understand what was meant to that reader, because only by understanding that can we understand how that affects you and me. And so it's so important for us to try to understand what it was that the writer was trying to actually say. That's called exegesis. It's a funny word, but the opposite of that is eisegesis. Exegesis is I want to take out of the word what it was trying to say. Eisegesis is I'm going to put into the word what I want it to say. Many Christians, many Christians, many pastors, many teachers do eisegesis. They take scripture and they make it say what they want it to say. If you want the Bible to really have an impact in your life, you can't do that. You have to do exegesis. You have to figure out what the word is trying to say to you so that you can take that into your own life and change your life and use that to give you joy, to give you peace, to give you a relationship with God.